Chloe loves dinosaurs and sharks, even if at the age of 10, she struggles to name them.
Who's this?
Pant.
She's one of only 100 people in the UK diagnosed with a rare genetic condition called SYNGAP1 syndrome. Severe learning disabilities, daily seizures, autism and sleep disorders are just some of Chloe's many challenges.
No, I'm going to play with dinosaurs.
I'm watching dinosaurs.
The strain of caring for Chloe has profoundly affected her family, and her epilepsy has at times left them fearing for her life.
She was having a seizure for 8 or 9 minutes. They had the defib out next to her. And they'd struggled to find a pulse or tell her she was breathing. She had been breathing, there was a pulse, but the fact that there was a defib out next to her, I think that really hit home.
Chloe's mum, Sarah, has battled for help at every step.
And that's probably the hardest thing about being a special needs mum, is the constant battle for everything. Be it seeing the right doctor at the right time, getting the right tests. We've had to fight for respite care, which is just vital because we can't function as a family otherwise.
Chloe's grandfather is the Conservative MP and former Cabinet Minister David Davis. Seeing his family struggling, he's calling for councils to get nearly £5 billion a year in extra funding to address the lack of support for children with learning disabilities and the dearth of places at special schools.
In the lottery of life, my family think I won the first prize, and I rather agree with them, you know. Chloe doesn't even get a ticket. You know, Chloe hasn't even got a bet in that because, we can't yet solve what's wrong with her, and we can't give her enough to help her even a small way out of the place she's in.
Local authorities which fund special educational needs are under serious financial strain, and the number of children requiring help has soared.
Well, you're speaking as a grandfather and as an MP, but you're also a Conservative MP, and it's your party's government that has arguably starved public services of resources. I know you say that resources have increased in this area, but not by enough. Do you think that's been a mistake, that now you're getting the blame for something that's been partly of your own creation?
So this is an issue for me of priority, you see.
Yeah, but is it really right to prioritise tax cuts going into an election, which is what the Chancellor wants to do? Really keep public spending increases to 1% is
It's a reasonable question, but the trouble is that tax burden is so high at the moment. So what we've got to do is we've got to fight for the resources.
So if there was a choice between putting more money into tax cuts or putting more money into this area of special needs, special education, what would you say?
Well, look, if I thought an increase in taxes would actually deliver anything back, I'd look for that. But I don't think it will. That's the trouble. What has to give us the answer is a facing up to the fact that this is a priority. These children with special needs and their families are facing really, really great distress unnecessarily because we're not prioritising it high enough.
So would she advise her dad's party to prioritise tax cuts over higher public spending or not?
I think tax cuts aren't the priority. If the system was working better, then fine. But society needs to help those who need the help, and Chloe needs the help, along with all her friends. And yeah, it would be nice to put more money in people's pockets. I see that, but it is hard. Never enough money, but our children are being failed, and they didn't ask to be born with a disability. They need the schooling and the support that they should have.
It's a difficult question, but if you think that Labour has got a better hope of fixing this system, Chloe's got strong ideas on this, clearly. Would you have to vote Labour?
If I thought they did, yes, I would vote for whoever I thought would give us the support that we need.
Do you think they do, Labour?
I don't know yet.
So you're a classic swing voter right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my vote is up for grabs. Yes, that's a wrap.
Awkward as it may be living in her dad's constituency, Sarah is in no doubt it will be Chloe who most influences the way she votes, not him. But he's Team Chloe too, taking his campaign to the Treasury and doing an abseil for a charity raising awareness of Chloe's condition.
Well, I spoke to the Education Secretary, Gillian Keegan, and began by asking what prompted her to create more places for children with special educational needs.
The first Secretary of State actually has gone round and asked what is the need in each place. And that's so, we've got a huge investment to build 60,000 more places for special educational needs.
But the demand, if you look at young people with education, health and care plans, to give it the jargon, kids with special needs, that's risen from 240,000 in 2015 to 517,000 last year. So it's more than doubled. So yes, you've put spending up, but it's far outstripped by demand, isn't it?
Well, actually, our demand is much broader than that because it's not just children with EHCP, it's also children with special educational needs, which is a much broader cohort.
But you'd acknowledge that spending just hasn't kept up with demand. I mean, that is a fact.
Well, I mean, it's hard to show. I mean, once we get these 60,000 places in place, then I believe that will meet the demand that we have.
But
of
that's
course,
not
the demand,
now, and councils are breaking now. Councils are going bust, and not all due to mismanagement.
108 of these of the 200 schools have already been delivered. Some of them are actually operational, some of them are being delivered now. So this has been a programme since 2010. We've set about building 60,000 more places.
Right, well, let me tell you this from your Conservative colleague, David Davis. And he tells us today that these children with special needs and their families are facing really great distress unnecessarily because we're not prioritising it high enough. And he says councils need at least £4.6 billion of additional funding each year. What do you say to him?
If we build the right places, what's happening, as well as the increase in demand, there's also been a change in the provision. But there's a lot more children going to more expensive provision because we haven't had the right provision in place. There's a lot more technology, there's a lot of things that the whole understanding of special educational needs has really grown.
But what's your answer to David Davis? I mean, do you get how that kind of anguish from a Conservative colleague of yours?
100%. I have a nephew with special educational needs, and I've spoken to David about his granddaughter as well. And there's many families will be watching this, saying, I'm really struggling to get the support I need. It always feels like they're battling the system. Chloe's in a special educational needs schools. There's some children who are not even got a place yet.
They had to battle very hard for years.
Exactly, and my nephew is now in a special educational needs school. But again, that is a lifesaver if you're in the school. But if you're not, of course, that's why we need extra places. I mean, I think even last year alone there was a 9% increase in autism, for example. So there is a big increase. We know more, we can diagnose more, we care more as a society.
But should councils ration that support because that's what some of them are having to do?
No. So what we know is when you've got a big increase in demand, it does take the system a bit of time. That's why we have a special educational needs plan. It's why today we're announcing the last part of the 60,000 more places. If those places were here today, obviously we wouldn't be having this conversation.
I just wonder whether you could address this point that was made to us by David Davis's daughter, Sarah. She said, tax cuts aren't the priority. If the system were working better, then fine. But society helps those who need the help. The system is broken and it needs fixing. Do you agree with her that tax cuts have got to come second after you've fixed all these problems?
Well, they did. All of those plans and all of that investment is in place before those tax cuts came. So
but now tax cuts are being prioritised by the Chancellor. Is that right?
We're just delivering on it, right?
Yeah, but you're billions short of the spending increase that David Davis, for one, says you need.
Well,
so why not prioritise that rather than tax cuts, is what his daughter is saying.
Because what we need to do is we need to build the right provision.
But you've made a political choice, or the Chancellor has, to prioritise tax cuts rather than further increases in public spending, which would make a huge difference to people like Chloe.
No, we did the special educational needs and alternative provision improvement plan before.
Yeah, but it's still billions short, is what David Davis is saying.
That's because it hasn't all been delivered, but the billions are there. I do appreciate every family right now is sat there struggling, thinking, well, if the place was there now, great, but, how long is it going to take?
Just finally, Rishi Sunak, there's a lot of
swirling rumours about his leadership. Would you say that he's doing an effing good job?
I would always say he's doing a brilliant job, because I think he is doing a brilliant job.
Are you a leadership contender at some point in the future?
No.
Really? You're ruling yourself out?
Well,
I said in the future.
No, I'm really, I mean, I've only been an MP for 7 years, right? I'm really happy with Rishi. And actually, I never even expected to be in the Cabinet, if I'm honest. I never expected to be in the Cabinet.
So if there's a contest straight after the election,
it's a great delight to
you're
do
not going to be in
this.
it?
No, I'm pretty sure I won't be, yeah.
Gillian Keegan, thanks very much.
Thank you.